Hi, hello, and welcome to Vertex of Abundance Galactic Temple. My name is Serene Priestess Gorgeous. I'll be your oracle today. I'm here to brief us on the soulmate twin flame energy for May 2018. On the 15th of May 2018, there was a new moon in Taurus. So this will be an expression of the divine feminine. We covered last month the divine masculine, just like we will next month. And how that works is we alternate every other month. So this month we'll give our findings to the divine masculine and our recommendation to the divine feminine. So we'll be speaking to the divine feminine a lot. We'll be expressing, however, to the divine masculine what's going on with the feminine. And the recommendation for the divine feminine will be how to support the divine masculine in returning to the union, if there is a union being expressed. So we'll get into the energies here. Now the cards are pre-shuffled. This will be a little bit of a different reading. The way it normally works is that we just do a quick, 5-10 minute briefing, and we follow along. We continue in the temple. The website's down until the 22nd of May 2018. So there'll be a link in the show notes to the extended reading, and that'll be 11/11 Divine Lover series, which is great. Every 3 to 6 months, I like to do an open free reading for the channel so that everybody understands how we work in the temple. So I've been talking for 1 minute and 40 seconds. I want to get into these energies. I'll leave any announcements at the end. The general housekeeping I do need to discuss is that you do not need to be masculine assigned at birth or feminine assigned at birth, female assigned at birth, or masculine assigned at birth in order to embody that role. And typically for really, truly, genuinely spiritual connections, it tends to alternate every 1.5 years when the nodes shift, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get this out. We're using the Mystical Tarot. The cards are ready, and it's very rare that the wild card shows up at the bottom of the deck. When it comes out that prominently, to me, it's the Oracle of the deck speaking. So the designer of this deck is Giuliana Costa, and it's straight up Italy, okay? Lo Scarabeo is the distributor. They're a competitor to U.S. game systems out of Italy and the U.S. I believe it's Venezia and I could be wrong on that, but and New York in the U.S. here. So let's go ahead and get these energies out. Remember, it's 11/11. We're going to be doing the divine partnership assessment, and we will be covering twin flame energy since it's the new moon. Okay, so we have the Two of Swords, the moon with the Two of Swords here. We have Venus in Libra here with the Il Justicia, which is the Justice card. We have Mars in Gemini here with the Nine of Swords, and we have the Sun in Capricorn here with the Four of Pentacles. Mars in Scorpio with the Five of Cups, and then we have Mercury with Il Bagetto. Il Bagetto is the Magician. We have Mars in an air sign, so a person taking action from the energy of Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. We have Mars in Pisces. We have Jupiter in Leo, and we have Il Mondo, Saturn, the World card. Bottom of the deck is the Oracle. That's the combined energy for both parties here. On this side is the feminine. Why? Because it's the receptive energy this month, and that's the month that we're in. We're in a feminine month. And then this is the external or extroverted energy, and that will be the divine feminine. I mean, the divine masculine this month. It's the energy going out, and this is the energy receiving. Okay. And so in the center, we have the Sun in Gemini, which is the shared energy. And I will be serving the purpose of the Chariot. So I'll be your ship over troubled waters, your chariot through the seas of time today. We're entering the month here. And I'll show you the major cards, as always. We're entering the month here with the Justice card. And it's mirrored on the masculine with the Nine of Swords. So there's 10 swords total in the position of overall energy that we entered the month in. So as we were closing up last month's cycle, it's almost as if the feminine is stepping into alignment. And my findings are as such, that the feminine here is closing out cycles, growing, expanding, expressing some type of newfound ascension. They're at a higher vibration. They're elevated in their vibration. And they've been slowly manifesting it, but the movement and the foundation has been laid for them to stay at that vibration. So it's not just healing and learning. That's where they've come to, incorporating the lesson. And the masculine has had a hard time with their belief system here. Now, they actually don't understand that they've seen the good and the bad and the ugly, but they've yet to detach from the feelings around it, so they would be anguished or struggling, suffering because of thought vibration. Maybe they didn't do something or say something, because they're looking at the feminine, but they are having their eyes closed. Because the challenge on the feminine side, it's funny because she has, okay, and I'm calling the feminine she, not they, for some reason. So a lot more feminine energy here this month. Now, the feminine is interesting because they have 1, 2, 3, and it's out of order. It goes 2, 1, 3, but we have 1, 2, 3 in numerology here, and they're all major arcana. So the entering in the month, beginning the cycle, the challenge, obstacle, is manifesting. And see, if the feminine is moving into alignment, they can manifest whatever they want. And their focus is what their options are. What is being created with what we have? What does the timeline look like? And if I need to move forward onto somewhere else, I'm not going to lose any of my personal power to do so. I'll mess with you for a little bit just to gain some clarity, but if you can't provide none, I'm going to make other options. Other choices, I'm going to find other options. And the masculine is kind of like, okay, well, I want to be in an emotional commitment. I want to be in an emotional union. I have enough cups to share. Or finding enough cups to share. So the challenge on the masculine is like happily ever after. My findings are that there's a completion here and a victory this month during this cycle. And we're going to be leaving into the next cycle holding on. I hope it's not holding on to indecision, but there's a decision made this month. Something fully complete. Something's finally over, and it's the anguish. They needed to come at this equalized, balanced. And are there any sixes? So there was some shadow previously. The devil was in this connection previously. And I'm feeling like the feminine was giving their power away for a moment, and they stopped. They needed to align, and the masculine was giving their power away, but it wasn't on an emotional level, it was a mental level. They thought things should be a certain way. They weren't willing to break protocol. They weren't willing to show up with the belief that love was on the table. There was some emotional maturity that they needed, and there was karma. There were things they were holding in their emotional body that they needed to release. That's, again, the masculine. So again, my findings are that there's a completion. Things are moving forward. There's a completion. So there's going to be an expansion expressing this month. There should be communication and a decision. And the feminine is open to holding on. They are open and receptive to holding on to this connection. Now the masculine is looking for a victory, but the sacrifice to make on the masculine, that's my findings, are that they're going to need to give something up of themselves. They're going to need to emotionally mature, come out to play, show up, participate, figure out how they feel about what's gone down in the past, and realize that they've already had all the information. Now the central energy, the shared energy, is the And this is where both couples are living. So this is the month where the connection comes back together. Now it may not happen until 12th, 13th at the latest of June. Again, I'm just going to repeat my findings for the third time. My findings here are that there's a completion and expansion. That something can be manifested this month. There's going to be support from the universe this month to drive life forward according to intellect, reasoning, communication. So this connection in the world, because this union is in the spiritual with this Ten of Cups on the masculine side, and that's in the position of the obstacle challenge. It's mirrored on the feminine by the Magician. So when love shows up, especially for men, sometimes masculine individuals, if it doesn't align with how they see things or their philosophy or their belief system, if they're not of a high enough vibration to understand that their passions and drives are flowing, even their libido, and follow that, and then they're like stopping creation, stopping the universe from blessing them because their mind is in a low vibrational reality with the Nine of Swords, that's what I'm detecting here. And the feminine, their shadow was self-worth and value. The masculine was control. They invest a lot into story, into wounding. And the ego is very much involved here on the masculine side. So again, the recommendation is to accept this victory, but you must move on. The fixed energy is moving on into higher emotional ground, leaving things behind that were, so you've invested in a lot of shadow. Okay, feminine, because this message is to the feminine. So feminine, the sacrifice to make on the masculine side this month is to invest in moving on. They've made a lot of investments into previous relationships and this relationship. And so there's a lot of cups of hurt, shame, frustration. And they're going to need to be letting those go. So their indecision, they feel the way they feel because of what they're thinking, not what anything else. So their answer will change when their feelings change, not when the facts change, because all the facts are there on the table. There's just been a lot of anguish on the masculine side. So you can support the masculine this month by leaving things in the past. You might need to discuss them, but as you bring them up, say, I'm bringing this up one time to let it go for good. I need a little bit of clarity. Maybe you can provide that. And if you can't, it's also an answer. You know, it's not about the good or right answer. It's about the real answer, the authentic answer. Whatever I feel is what I'm going to have to make a decision from. And the one thing I won't tolerate is the lack of truth. And that's that Nine of Wands on your side, feminine, here. Because the recommendation here is to drive life forward, understanding that the universe is trying to support you, and this is already completing. So if you move into next month, and they're still indecisive, and they're not telling you why they can't make a decision, then you would hold on to your own sovereignty and independence. It's just saying here that you're open and receptive to manifesting a physical union. So I'm going to continue this over in the temple, and I'm going to see if, the link will be in the show notes. We're in the temple right now, and there's going to be no private reading because the site's down until Tuesday, and I'm recording this on a Saturday morning. So we're going to go ahead and see what soul energy comes out. I want to see how the couple is doing here. So here's the deal. I'm going to lay the cards now. I'll call them out, and then click the link in the show notes. We'll go over to the temple. Now, the video is going to be hidden. It's not going to be floating around. Well, actually, both will come out. So this is the Twin Flame Soulmate briefing. Again, my findings are that there's a completion here. The universe is asking that something be manifested, whether it's a physical union or the spiritual union, but the universe is conspiring to help, and the way forward is to drive life forward on talking, communication. Truth needs to come out. The recommendation here is to, especially for the masculine, to move on to higher emotional ground. You need to leave something behind, and it would be all the things that you did that didn't work. You're in your ego thinking that you didn't get this relationship because your strategy didn't work, masculine. But the reality is that it was your methodology and your belief system. It wasn't a reality that this relationship didn't work. You were always victorious. This connection was always waiting for you, but you needed to reach out and grab it and not try to manipulate or take a cue from the feminine. Manipulation is not always a negative connotation, but you can apply that label if you want to, because feminine, this is here. So if you do move on this month and they're still indecisive and they can't communicate why they're indecisive, you're going to need to retain your own power and hold on to that and move into the future manifesting single. Holding on to what you've learned through this, and not how you were wounded, but what you learned and what power you were given back navigating through the situation. Ultimately, this month, it will finally be over. And the masculine, you can, if you don't make a decision, you can move into the next month indecisive, but that would mean you're in a low vibration, because this anguish, Nine of Swords, was to get to the bottom of something and to let you know that the way you were navigating this connection, this partnership, was not ideal. You could have existed in the world or showed up in the world a little bit different in your connection and relationship to this. There was something wrong with your environment for this connection. Either there was a lot of antagonism around it, or there would have been a sense of loss in order to incorporate this relationship, integrate this relationship into your life, and at a time when it first showed up and the energy was a little bit nicer. There's a 6 here, so that means that there was the devil at one point in time or another, because there's 2 swords here that would would show a person being disempowered. They couldn't let go, they couldn't open up. Okay, so we have the Fool card, the Chariot card, the Emperor card, the Hangman card, Strength in reverse, Justice in reverse, World in reverse, Hierophant, Death, Magician, Temperance. La Temperanza. Okay, so I'm gonna continue this over. Check the link in the show notes if you want to go directly to it. Maybe you've caught something else previous to this, and so now you're coming to see the briefing and the guidance. I'm gonna literally explain the details here, okay? So I'm gonna clarify right now. See you in a minute. If anything I said resonates deeply with you, you can still book a reading. It's priestessgorgeous.org. Namaste, Dandava, and Ashe. Thank you for handling the clunkety migration. You've been awesome. We're getting ready to wow everybody's socks off. Most of you, some of you are overly pessimistic, but you know that I love you, know that I praise you, know that I honor you, and I'm so grateful for the support. Love, light, peace, unity, harmony, and respect. Until we meet again, until we read again, Namaste, Dandava, and Ashe. Au revoir. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Das Vidania.